there's let's just pick one of those one of those fun races at random. One of those, let's say the Killorens. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Killorens, they are a plant-like race who are from the deep wood. They're a young race, and they exist to defend nature. They are very adverse, are very antagonistic towards peoples and races who are industrialized or cut down the wood or generally don't revere nature. Okay, let's take that race. It's a fun, cool race. They're a plant race. That's kind of out of the ordinary. It's not like the base like 4 races. So let's just take that race. Let's say we're going to run a game where all the players have to be Killorens. Well, Dan, why would we do that? We're cutting out all these other races. The players aren't going to want to play in that. What type of stories could we possibly tell? All right, what type of stories can we tell? Killoren stories. Killorens have stories. Well, of course they do. If you're going to have a player who's going to play a Killoren, he's going to be making a Killoren story. The only difference is, in this case, they're going to be making it in a Killoren community. Okay, so we start with a Killoren community. We have a village in the woods. Deep woods. The Killorens in this village have never seen anyone from the outside. Okay, cool. Well, Dan, this is an adventure game. They're supposed to go on quests and achieve great things. What are these Killoren players going to do? Good question. What sort of dangers do they face in the deep woods? Well, let's see. I suppose there could be dire bears. Perhaps there's a group of orcs that are coming through. There are dangers to the deep wood that the Killorens would have to face, and the more adventurous of of their village, the players would seek to defend. Well, all right, but those are just fights. That's not really an adventure. Okay, they're out to defend the wood, so there's some great threat to the entirety of the wood, to nature itself. The Killoren players are called upon by their sage. There is a greater threat to the wood. They need to march out and go and discover what this threat is. The threat is to the east, and they need to find out what it is. Okay, sure. So they march out. They go through the deep wood, and they start going and meeting all the other denizens of the wood, mostly animals. But keep in mind, this is a Killoren game, so it's a secluded village. So it's going to be kind of far away from other. So who might they encounter in the wood? Spirits, dryads, elves. Okay, sure. They come across elves. Well, the elves, they have a similar way of thinking. They revere nature. They generally consider themselves a more sylvan race than, say, humans or dwarves or orcs. They're more at one with nature. So maybe the Killorens, even though they're kind of nervous around these pointed-eared, pale-skinned people that they've never met before, maybe they spend some time around them. Maybe they help around the elven village and accomplish some goals there, and they have to, and they get to know them. They start to see that there are similarities between their cultures and ideologies, things that you get to explore because of the interactions between these two races. But time eventually comes that they need to go find out what this threat is, so they move on from the elven village and they start going further and further out of the deep wood. Now maybe they're reaching the edges of the wood and they start coming across other denizens of the wood. Maybe they come across a party of humans that are traveling through. Maybe some lord from out there is traveling through, and these Killorens come across them. Maybe the humans that have never seen the Killorens before and think that they're monsters. So naturally, the nobles' guards take up defense and maybe attack them, not wanting to let any threat approach their lord. And naturally, the Killorens will defend themselves. Maybe there's a clash, and maybe the players try and reach it. Maybe they defeat the guard there, or they reach out to them saying, "Hey, what's going on? We don't mean any harm." And the fight ends, and they get to talking to the humans, and the humans they're still distrustful of these strange green and brown skinned plant people that they've just met for the first time. And likewise, now the Kilorens are going to be looking at these humans as like, what are these strange monsters that use these crude metal weapons and ride around on a horse made of wood with circular legs? What is this? And who are these strange creatures? They're both distrustful of each other, and maybe they end it off quickly. Maybe one of the groups runs away from the battle. Either way, it's a very you get this dynamic now where you have the clashing of the two races, and now okay, well, that encounter's over, and the Kilorens move on. Maybe now they actually reach the edge of the wood, and they're not sure of. They're still not any closer to finding out who their great enemy is, who the big threat to the wood is. Well, now they come across a settlement that's just outside the wood, a human settlement. That sounds appropriate, right? That noble must have been traveling somewhere. Maybe the noble actually went to that town after their encounter and warned the local townspeople about these wood demons or spirits that attacked his envoy or his guard, and now the town's on guard, and they don't trust the Kilorens, and obviously they're willing to shoot the Kilorens on sight. Well, the Kilorens, they keep their distance. They're not sure what to do, and they can go about it in multiple ways. They can try and sneak in to find out, because remember, they're on a quest to find out, what this threat to the wood is. And maybe in their investigations, maybe they get their way into the town, maybe they don't. But they find out that this town, it's on the edge of the woods because it's a logging town. It's cutting down trees to ship off to other places in that human nation. And, they look at this and they're just horrified. The wood is being cut down. Cut down. The trees that live forever are being killed because these pink fleshy creatures want to live in huts instead of in the hollows of trees, or use what the trees have already given up. No, instead they want to cut and butcher the forest to make their homes. Like, this is horrendous. These must be the great threat to the wood. How can we possibly stop them? Especially when the Kilorens figure out that these humans, this is not the only settlement, that it's much bigger than this single town. Now you have this race who's used to thinking a single way collided with this alien threat that is just so much bigger than they are, and they have to figure out how they're going to tackle that. Do they go back to the elves and ask for help? Do they go back and report to their sage and tell them what they found, and see if maybe he can divine something that they can use to stop these hideous creatures?